You are Locked On Clippers Postcast, part of Locked On Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I am Pete Fox, the Clippers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel and the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. That is the purest definition of stumbling to the finish that I've seen in quite a while. Not a pretty fourth quarter for the Clippers, but we'll get into it here in just a minute. Again, don't forget to check us out after every Clippers game or every Dodger game or every Chargers game or every Bruins game, because those are the teams that I will be covering for the postcasts all year long. You can find us on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. Tonight's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. The easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for your first deposit match up to $100. Again, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Well, the Clippers got out to a big lead early. After one, they were up 42-27, and we thought that this was going to be a complete wire-to-wire dominant victory. And I got to be honest, I agree with Brian Seaman on this one. I did not love the way they finished. And it's hard to come down on the bench guys that don't get a lot of playing time, like Xavier Moon, no relation to Jackie Moon. But, I mean, what can you expect from that guy? Brandon Boston had a nice game, but Bones Highland came in, played 4 minutes, not a lot from him. So I think it's hard to be tough on them, but when you lead by 26 points, and you win it 125-117, single digit victory, it's just kind of like lackluster, let the air out of the balloon, It's like, oh, we were doing so good. It's like, having a great night out with your friends at the bar, happy hour all night long. Everyone's having fun. And then, you fall off the bar stool at the end of the night and get into a fight with your girlfriend. It's just like, we were having so much fun. What happened? Everything was just rolling along, and they just kind of let the air out of the balloon, and it's just not what you're looking for. So it's, of course, not Paul George's fault or Kawhi Leonard's fault. They had a great night. 31 for PG to lead the way, 10 of 14, very efficient in just 28 minutes. So they let these guys rest, and Kawhi had 22 points in 29 minutes, going 9 of 15. The defense, though, in the fourth was just sloppy. I mean, shouldn't we expect a little bit more from these guys? They're still getting paid. Not as much, of course, but they are getting paid. They're on the team. So I feel like when it's your turn to play, I mean, this is your job. You are a second or third man on the Clippers. So when it's your time to get out there in the last 10 minutes of the game, bust your ass. Don't give up a 26-point lead where it gets down to 7 in the final minutes of the game, especially knowing this one fact, which absolutely blows my mind. I cannot believe that this is the reality of the Clippers' dominance. I guess to a certain extent, with the futility that this organization has suffered through over the years, it does make a little bit of sense. A few nights ago, I mentioned, can't we just get a dominant 25, 30-point butt whooping, cruise to victory, where there is literally, I mean, I don't want to say there was any doubt in this one, but when you're up 26 in the fourth quarter and you win by 7, it's a little bit embarrassing. I don't want to, it's not leaving the barn door open. It's not that bad. The cows and pigs didn't run out, but it was maybe a snake got in because the barn door was cracked. I don't know. The Clippers in their history, not just the LA Clippers or the San Diego Clippers, even going back to the Buffalo Braves, the largest margin of victory for this franchise is 17 points. What? I thought, we just get 1 or 2 because it happens all the time. You see teams dominate and win by 20, 25, 30. It happens all the time, every day practically. There is a dominant butt whooping by somebody. I was like, that's what the Clippers need. And tonight was the night. They played well in the beginning, right out of the gate. Everything was working. The defense at the perimeter, Zoo was guarding the defense, or guarding the perimeter rather, playing defense. They were driving and kicking, which always seems to be an effective principle for them. Paul George got hot right away. He's been shooting 44% in his last 9 games from beyond the arc, kept it up tonight. He was 4 of 8 from deep. So everything was going, right? Second quarter, kept it rolling, energy, focus, drive. Everything was good. So into the halftime, they were up. What was the score at the half? 70-53. Kawhi had 13. Paul George had 20. They were shooting 62% at the break. Let's go. Keep it up. Keep going. Third quarter, Paul George did keep it up, banging down threes, and he was making wide open shots, which sometimes is not the best situation for Paul George, right? Or for anybody for that matter. But Paul George doesn't always hit that open three when he gets to bounce the ball, look at the basket, and then shoot. Yeah, that's not necessarily great for him. He's a more of an in rhythm guy, right? In flow, just getting a bounce pass or dribble drive, stop and pop, that kind of a thing. Sometimes when he takes that open shot, not that it's ugly looking, I just like him better in rhythm. For that matter, I like any player. I feel like they always look better in rhythm. There are occasional guys like Steph Curry who can just hit a wide open shot, right? But Steph Curry also makes shots with hands in his face, falling away. Obviously, he's a great shooter, can do anything. But Kawhi's that way too. Hands in his face, falling away, ball above his head, turnaround jumper, fade away. He makes those look easy. Sometimes Kawhi is also not the greatest wide open shot taker. Paul George, I think, is much better in rhythm than he is with the wide open shot. But tonight he was making wide open shots. So that was nice too. Everything was rolling again, 70-53 at the break. Going into the fourth quarter, 96. What was the fourth quarter? At the end of the third quarter, I didn't write that one down. But it was all dominance, right? We were cruising along. A good third quarter, 31-27. They were leading at the end of that, or they won that quarter anyway. So you feel like, let's just put this hammer down and cruise into victory. So I don't know if they feel bad about this tonight. I'm probably spending too much time talking about it, but ultimately, all in all, a solid game. So we have to find something to focus on, right? I can't just sit here and pat them on the back all night long, beating a 19-win team. So this is what we're doing. We are, we are trying to dig some little imperfection out and focus on that. So we'll drop that for now. We'll come back and get into the bucket list, which is pretty easy tonight. Lots of things to focus on, lots of good shots, but the Clippers do get the win, back-to-back wins in Portland over the Trailblazers tonight. 125-117 the final. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Clipper Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen to us on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. We come on right after every game and break it down. We'll continue to do that after this. All right. Again, tonight's show brought to you in part by our friends at Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 players and their stat projections, and then watch the winnings roll in. Unless, of course, you were me picking players in the March Madness tournament. I was 0 for 2 today. And this Filipowski guy, or Filachowski, I was watching the game with a buddy whose kid, 7, 8 years old, was correcting me because I kept calling him the wrong name. Filatowski. He's like, it's still Filipowski. And I'm like, his name's still Filipowski, but what he said was, it's still Filipowski. So I called him Stilakowski for the rest of the night. Anyway, this guy averages 17 points. So I put him into my 2-player stat projection. He had 3 for Duke. 3. He's a center. 3. And all my friend kept saying was, well, they were doubling him all night. He's a Duke fan. They were doubling. Stop making excuses. That's embarrassing. So needless to say, I lost that one. And then I had one with 2 other random dudes that I was just doing it to have fun. I didn't even know who these guys were. I picked them from teams that I didn't even know anything about. Wisconsin, who lost. and then St. Mary's, which I know a little bit about them. My ex went to school there. But yeah, it just made it more fun, especially this time of year with March Madness and my team, the Kentucky Wildcats, being out of it. My alma mater, though, San Diego State, still alive, so that's good. But there's lots to do on Prize Picks to make this time of year with March Madness a whole lot more fun. Quick deposits and easy withdrawals. My initial deposit was super painless and hassle-free. And they also have Demons and Goblins going on right now. This is the newest and most exciting way to play Prize Picks. Squares marked with red demons or green goblins get you different payouts. The green is a little bit lower. The red demons are a little bit higher because they're harder to hit, but nonetheless, it is worth it if you do. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for your first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for your first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. All right. What was not easy was closing out the Portland Trailblazers. Chauncey Billups, the coach, probably had to feel pretty good about the way his team battled to the very end here. They did shoot the ball well from beyond the arc again, like they did a couple of nights ago. Not quite as good, but still good. 12 of 33, 36%, and 48% from the floor, led by Scoot Henderson's 24 points. He was 8 of 18, so a good night for him. The Clippers, again, led by Paul George, who was dialed in, 31 points, perfect from the line, 4 of 8 from beyond the arc, and 10 of 14. He had 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 2 block shots. That was another thing that I really liked about the first 3 quarters of this game for the Clippers. A couple of nights ago, 15 steals, and that third quarter on Wednesday was fantastic. They were playing defense, clogging lanes, active hands, stealing the ball, intercepting passes, everything you want to see. Now, it's obviously tough to keep that up for 4 quarters, but they had a solid performance on defense, stealing the ball on Wednesday. Tonight, defense was also good. As I mentioned, early in the game, they were guarding the perimeter very well. Even Zoo out to guard the perimeter. His man went out and who can shoot threes, so he followed him out there, got in his face, made life difficult. The reason I laugh, there's a funny story that I missed, as did Brian Seaman and Coach Fratello. They missed it too a couple of nights ago. I'll tell you the funny story here in just a minute. But it was very, very interesting and potentially helpful to this team in the long run. But they were doing everything right, playing defense, stealing the ball. Tonight, the thing I loved was the block shots, which is right there in line with steals. They had a lot of block shots, and they were key block shots at key times, 8 in total. So you like to see that. Maybe not quite as high as I thought, because a lot of times you see these things and you're like, wow, they're blocking shots like crazy. That number is going to be like 15 or something. So 8's a little bit lower than I thought, but they did have a ton of very crucial, key, timely block shots. So they're playing defense, and that's something you have to feel good about. I think ultimately, if you just take a step or two back from this game and you say, what do we take away from this series against the lowly 19-win Portland Trailblazers, who are eliminated from the playoffs, a very young team that's just trying to build, grow, get some chemistry, become more experienced, etc. I think the thing that we can take away from this is that the Clippers found their rhythm again, got back on track, got some energy, got some confidence, started having fun, which leads me to the story. Some of you may have saw it. I didn't see it. I missed it. But in the game 2 nights ago on Wednesday, James Harden passed to Kawhi Leonard in the corner. I guess they were up 20 plus at this point. But after passing to Kawhi, Harden closes out on Kawhi with his hands in the air playing. It was pretty funny. You see Harden's face. He's just laughing. They asked him about it after the game. He said, quote, "I just wanted to have some fun," which I love, right? It kind of has felt through this stretch since the Grammy road trip that they're not having a ton of fun, right? They're struggling. They're blowing big leads. Obviously, tonight they blew a big lead, but that was with all the starters on the bench and Jackie Moon's cousin, Xavier Moon, on the floor. So it doesn't, it's hard rather to get mad at them or criticize them for blowing this lead when you got all the starters sitting on the bench. I think more importantly, the bright side is you take away the fact that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard played 28 and 29 minutes. Harden a little bit longer, 36 minutes. He was running the offense in the latter part of the game along with Terrence Mann, who had a very good game as well. 7 of 12, 1-3 for 20 points. He kind of got it going in the fourth, but didn't get a lot of help from anybody else because Harden was kind of a disaster. 5 of 13, 2 for 9 for 15 points. And again, most of that came in the fourth quarter during the blowout period of this game. I hesitate to say garbage time because I've heard that people are offended by calling the end of the game garbage time. It's offensive to the Xavier Moons and Brandon Boston Juniors of the world. I get it, but I don't think that they're too upset if they play during what is called garbage time. I don't think I'm calling them garbage, although tonight they weren't great. We could have used a little more from them, but it's hard. It's got to be challenging to get out there and, you're up 20 and try to keep the hammer down. Highland got in there as well, played 4 minutes and didn't score either. So all in all, the essential portion of this game, the heart of this game, the Clippers were fans. What we need to take away is that they kind of got back into rhythm. They found some energy. They're starting to have fun again. Their focus is there. And if this game meant anything at all, those guys would have been in the game, would have been a completely different outcome. All right, let's get to the bucket list right after this break. All right, tonight's show brought to you also in part by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What bring home the winning trophy is also what brings your ride or die home alive all the time. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle at a level that is to peak performance. You can get roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, superchargers, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, or just keeping your car running smoothly, eBay Motors has the parts that you need and has you covered. Roof racks, I've purchased those on eBay Motors. Exhaust kits, no. But LED headlights, yes. Superchargers, no. But brake kits, yes. So I generally look for parts that are necessities. Occasionally, I've looked for some things to kind of soup up the car, make it cooler, that kind of thing. But the bottom line is they have all of that stuff, over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for with the eBay Motors guaranteed fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit. The other thing that's cool is it saves your car in the eBay Motors page. So if you have multiple cars that you're trying to keep going, you go in there and you go, I'm looking for this part. Does it fit this car? Yes or no. It tells you right away. You don't have to do any Google searching. It just says, no, this does not fit your car. Yes, this does fit your car. And the best part is if it turns out somehow you order the wrong part, you get your money back. They'll refund you. No problem. eBay Motors has you burning rubber, not burning cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP that can bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. All right. Thank you for joining us here for the Clippers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen to us on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed, wherever you find your podcast. I am Pete Fox, been covering sports in LA for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio dating back to 2017. We now have 14 to go here, 13 actually after tonight for the Clippers in a 125-117 win when they led by as many as 26, thanks to guys like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, who had fantastic nights. Paul George with 31, Kawhi with 22, who lead us off on our bucket list for tonight. In at number 5, Kawhi Leonard with back-to-back threes in the first. It made it 18-10. It was about the 7-8 minute mark that Kawhi Leonard got things rolling. In at number 4, Paul George, a 26-foot three at the 10:50 mark of the third. Set the Clippers up to, he had made plenty up until this point. But this one was pulling away, 22-point lead at this point, 75-53. And again, it was a sweet, very little net movement. Paul George just banging it down, had a great night. For number 3 on the bucket list, Terrence Mann had a brilliant layup on a bounce pass from Paul George, 3:34 the third to make it 96-71. I believe it was a left-handed layup, kind of floating through the paint to the opposite side of the basket. Just looked very, very controlled and acrobatic, if you will. I love those acrobatic layups, and Terrence Mann is a master at those. Along the other guy who is fantastic at that is Brandon Boston, who may or may not be on this list. For number 2, I turned to the Portland Trailblazers just to give them a little bit of love after getting smacked in the mouth in consecutive games by the Clippers. Ryan Rupert, you may not know the name. He is a rookie, had a 3-quarter shot at the buzzer, end of the third, 3/4 of the court. So basically the top of the key from the other end of the court that went in, but sadly the time had expired. The red light was on and it was no good, but still feels good making that shot in the middle of a game, even though the time had expired and it was no good. Ryan Rupert with a 3/4 court buzzer not beating shots. And for number 1 tonight on the bucket list, Brandon Boston Jr. at the 5:30 mark of the game of the fourth quarter. He had a beautiful follow tap in. He's such an acrobatic guy. I really do wish he could get more time along with Bones Highland. I think these two guys are very acrobatic and can be very clutch and meaningful for the Clippers, but it's hard to get them in there. And if they don't get the time, they don't perform as well. I mean, Highland was doing fine when James Harden was out. He was performing. He was being productive. He was an active member of the team and the stat sheet and so forth. But since then, since Harden has come back, they really haven't. Ty Lue and the coaching staff have not found a spot for him. They've not found minutes for him. And consequently, his play has suffered a little bit. Brandon Boston, I thought tonight was pretty good. In just 19 minutes, he was 3 of 4, had a couple of threes and 9 points. So all in all, including the tap in, played a fantastic game in limited time. But the thing I like about him most is his acrobatic play above the rim, and just so nimble and athletic, and it's all good to see. So hopefully they can get more time for these guys like Highland and Brandon Boston. Coffee had 27 minutes tonight. It was 2 of 3, couple of threes, and a couple of free throws with 3 assists and 8 points. He's kind of become the energy guy of sorts when PJ Tucker is not playing. PJ Tucker tonight looked good in the first quarter. I don't know if he got hurt or what, but made some highlights, replays, etc. So they were highlighting him and spotlighting him tonight for his defense, because it's been an apparent part of the success the Clippers have had. It's been useful to them in wins. When they lose, it seems like he's the only guy playing defense. So tonight he played just 8 minutes. He was 1 of 2 for 3 points, had a free throw as well. So I'm sorry, had a just 1 3 made. So 1 of 1 from beyond the arc for PJ Tucker, but only got 8 minutes. I was a little surprised about that, because his defense seemed to be there, filled with energy like it has been recently for them. So that's been a big factor. But I think that between him and Bones Highland, those two guys, Amir Coffey as well, have really kind of filled in that absence that Russell Westbrook's energy is missing, right? The fact that Westbrook is injured and out. And by the way, what is the latest on that? We need to dig into that a little bit farther. I haven't heard a word as to when he's coming back. Generally, a broken bone is about 6 weeks, and it feels like it's been that long, but it's probably been closer to 3 or 4 at this point. So he's probably got a couple more weeks, and they will probably not rush him back. They'll wait for the playoffs to come. And again, that's about 2 weeks away. So it might line up just perfectly for him to get back out there. Hopefully they can get 1 or 2 games at the end of the season so he can find a little bit of rhythm and it doesn't become a Russell Westbrook situation when he returns to the floor for the Clippers. But all in all, a solid performance tonight in a 125-117 win. We'll just choose to overlook and forget about the fourth quarter, where they just kind of, went to sleep a little bit, didn't really care too much about playing defense. And then for a second, it seemed like they didn't care too much about scoring either. It was like, let's just burn the clock down and get out of here, right? Had enough of the donuts in Portland. Let's get back to LA. They got a 2-game homestand, which begins on Sunday. But before we get to the details of that, let's wrap it up with tonight's superlatives. Our first superlative is a good old-fashioned superlative. Prom king, Paul George. Just fantastic tonight. Only missed 4 shots, 4 of 8 from beyond the arc, 31 points, a plus-minus of plus 24. He had 3 assists, 2 steals, and 2 block shots. So no turnovers. And anytime you can say Paul George has no turnovers, that is a good night. He deserves to be king of the night, and he was, leading the way with 31 in 28 minutes. As for the magician in tonight's game, that would be James Harden, because he disappeared. Played a disappearing routine after a great night on Wednesday. Harden 5 of 13, 2 of 9 from beyond the arc. He did have 10 assists, so I can't complain about that. But 15 points. His plus minus was also up there too, plus 21. So I guess I get spoiled, and I expect more from him when he has those kind of nights where he's banging down those threes from beyond the arc with hands in his face. That traditional patented step back three. He did draw a foul beyond the arc tonight, and we know that he is the master in the NBA at doing that. So hit all 3 of those, was 3 of 4 in total from beyond the arc. And for the final superlative, best dancer of the night with the best moves was Terrence Mann. Dancing there through the lane into the paint with the layups. Looked fantastic. Just so effortless and athletic and energetic, and makes it look so easy. I'm a big fan of watching Terrence Mann play, and the thing he's probably best at is being versatile, right? He does a little bit of everything. Can shoot the 3 tonight, 1 of 4, 7 of 12 from the floor, had 4 assists, 1 block, 2 steals, and 20 points, plus minus of plus 10. So Terrence Mann dancing all over the court, doing a little bit of everything, playing offense, sharing the ball, steals, block shots, just fantastic. A little bit of everything. So all in all, kudos to all of them as the Clippers win at 125-107. Zubats, just to wrap up the stat sheet, had 6 points in 18 minutes. Perfect, going 3 for 3. Tykes had a nice night. 21 minutes, 3 of 5, 0 for 1 from beyond the arc, 6 points, but he had 2 big block shots. I enjoyed seeing that. Talked about it earlier, but I feel like all in all, they had 8 block shots. They did a nice job on defense, interrupting and disrupting the Trailblazers' momentum, blocking shots, making steals. And that's the kind of thing you hope they can take away from this game, build on, get confidence about, and use to their benefit as they head towards the playoffs and play tougher competition. 8 steals to go with those 8 block shots. In the end, Coffee had 8 points in 27 minutes, and Brandon Boston Jr. 9 points in 19 minutes. Again, leading the way for the Portland Trailblazers. Scoot Henderson, 35 minutes, 24 points. He had 3 threes, and Murray also in 36 minutes, 8 of 15 from the floor, 3 threes, part of 21 on the night. Clippers win at 125-117, improve their record to 44-25, 22-14 on the road. Off tomorrow, back at it in a matinee on Sunday at crypto.com against the Philadelphia 76ers. I will talk to you hopefully after that, because I'm heading out on vacation for a few days. So I'll be doing the show from Miami on Sunday if everything goes as planned. I will also talk to you after the game on Monday when the Clippers take on the Pacers at crypto.com. Then I'll miss a couple of games there next week, but I'll tell you more about that when we get to the game on Sunday if everything goes as planned. So enjoy the rest of your Friday, enjoy your Saturday, and I'll talk to you on Sunday. Thank you for joining me here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel for the Clippers Postcast. And of course, you can always listen to us on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Have a good night. Talk to you on Sunday.